Hello, Mixtresses and Mixters. This is Mixtress Ray. You're watching Mixtress video. I cannot seem to get my chair into the corner. Okay, cool. You know, some days it's a challenge working out of a closet. But actually, I really do love it. It's cozy in here. Ooh, I gotta turn on my bat lights because you can see one of them. Okay. Hi, how are you? I know I just did a video like 2 days ago, but I'm back. So this is going to kind of be a February favorites slash online no-buy monthly update because I want to do that at least once a month. So here I am. I don't know if you can tell just by the things you can see here, but the main theme for my month was music. I went through my planner. This year I've been using the like, I'll show you, the little daily areas just to kind of chronicle what's been going, pink moon, what happened on that day. So I went through today and went through the whole month because I'm recording this on the 29th of February, which doesn't that feel kind of magical? It's almost like it's an extra day. We get an extra day this year. I know, not really, but you know. Anyway, I went back through and read through my entire month so that I could get a good idea of like what I've been doing this month. Not only as far as keeping track of the no-buy, which I mostly keep track of. I have a page in here that's keeping track of my online purchases. So spoiler alert, the only thing I bought in all of February is an iPod Classic, which some of y'all that have been around for a minute might remember a purple iPod Classic from 2 years ago. So like I just bought one, but okay, so let's start with that, I guess. This is the one purchase I made in February on the internet. And it is, you can see, a song that I've listened to a ton of times this month. And a mix. This is a mix that I made this month. If you're interested. I don't think I'm going to be publishing it anywhere, and I have not committed it to cassette yet, but this is a mix that I made this month. So that's one thing I did this month as well. Anyway, so let's tell the iPod story, shall we? Just for funsies. Okay. So somewhere around, I don't know, first or second week of February, I realized that my other iPod Classic, so it's important to me to have physical copies of my music, as you can see with this Ani DeFranco CD right here on top. I want to have, you know, I still want to have, I mean, I know that's not a physical copy of music, but I do want to be able to have my entire music collection on an iPod. That is something that's important to me, which is why I still have iPod Classics. So I had one that I had bought with my tax return money in 2022, but it doesn't sync to my iTunes anymore. And in fact, it crashes my whole computer when I try to plug it in to iTunes. Sometimes it just crashes my iTunes, but most of the time it crashes my entire computer and I just have to do a hard reset. Which means when I get new music, I can't sync it to my iPod. So I discovered that I could no longer, that it was just, and I have reset it several times. Anyway, the point is I had to come to terms with the fact that my iPod was no longer working. So then I had to consult my online no-buy rules. Like, can I get myself another iPod? So I first, you know, really like sat with it for a few days. Do I actually want to replace this iPod? Do I really need to have an iPod? And ultimately I decided, yes, I do. So I bought another one. I mean, that's the end of the story, obviously. But I went through several things before I got to that point. Like, I had some other iPods that were not working that I, again, tried to repair this month, and I came to the conclusion that I don't know what's wrong with them, and in order to properly repair them, I would have to order several different parts, likely from China, and wait weeks or months for them to get to me, and then open up the iPod and replace those parts, and then see, so essentially, like, my level of expertise as far as repairing iPods, I do have some, but not enough. I don't have enough interest in doing it to, like, order a bunch of parts and just fuck around and find out. Like, I don't actually enjoy repairing iPods enough to do that for what would ultimately be a result that's not that great anyway in that case. So, okay, so the story is, tried to repair some iPods, decided it was beyond my abilities. So, I went through all the steps that I felt like I needed to go through before I made the decision to buy another. And when I made the decision to buy another, I also decided, in order to justify that purchase, because, everything's getting more expensive. One of the things that happened this month was my mortgage went up. Again, it goes up every fucking year, and no one tells you that before you buy a house. No one tells you. So, anyway, all of that is to say, in order to justify a $200 purchase, I had to sell some stuff this month. So I ended up selling, I think, 3 tarot decks, and I sold my other iPod. I was very upfront about, like, the issues that I was having with it. Like, it has a bunch of music on it, but I think the hard drive is failing. The battery is good, et cetera, et cetera, but you may not be able to plug it into your iTunes. And so I got a decent amount of money. I made like 130, I think was the ending bid on the one that I sold. So in any case, like, through the sale of those tarot decks and my other iPod that wasn't functioning correctly, I was able to pay this back. Like, within like 2 weeks of buying it, I was able to pay it back. So as far as, like, the online no-buy progress, since that was the only thing I bought this month, and it fell within my guidelines because I'm allowed to buy replacements. And I did decide that having an iPod is important enough to me that I would need to replace it. So yeah, it's another gold star. I get to give myself a gold star for February. In fact, you know what? Let's do it right now, just for funsies. I didn't do it for last month, but let's do it, shall we? Just do it right here on camera. Got my little sheet of gold stars. I will run out of them someday, especially if I'm really liberal with giving myself gold stars. But hopefully I can find them again, right? So I'll give myself a gold star for February. And I might as well give myself one for January too, because everything that I bought in January fell within my guidelines as well. So yay. Yeah, so that's pretty much the whole update on my online no-buy. I mean, I'm sure I'll sort of, like, philosophize about it later in the video, but essentially, like, I bought one thing and I've been talking about it for 10 minutes. But I did have a lot of fun this month because when I first got this, I really put it through the paces. I was like, I have a 30-day return window on it. I'm not going to have what happened last time happen this time. I'm going to fully test it. I'm going to plug it into iTunes several times. I'm going to listen to it continuously and test the battery. And the battery's great. Nothing wrong with this thing. It works great. I'm very happy with it. So yay. Yay for that. And I had so much fun just like I spent several days at work just listening to the iPod instead of, like podcasts and YouTube videos and whatever like I usually do from my phone. And it was really great. It was really great. Okay, I made a list on my computer of things that I wanted to talk to you guys about. Oh, Collie, our cat, we celebrated her. She came home on February 2nd. She was like 8 months old at the time. And it was 8 years ago. We've had her for 8 years. So I wanted to tell you guys about that. Other things that I just did this month. I don't know why. So apparently I'm just sharing with you guys like things that happened this month, things that I liked this month, etc. So one of the things I did this month, I mailed a couple of letters. Yeah, there was something that I needed to discuss with some old friends, I guess. Friends. They're kind of family. But it was like a situation where I didn't want to put it in a text, and I didn't want to do it in a phone call, because it was like serious, and it was the type of thing I was going to ask them something that could potentially make them feel uncomfortable, and I didn't want them to feel pressured to even answer me at all. So I sent it in a letter. That way they could just completely ignore it if they wanted to, or, and so I did actually get a response via text, and it was the answer that I wanted. So yeah, and then I sent another thank you letter to, my mom has this friend that is just like incredibly generous and just like randomly gives her money every once in a while because I don't think he has a lot of people in his life, but he has a lot of money. So every once in a while he just gives my mom money for no reason, which is really sweet. And this time I was the recipient of it. And I just immediately put it in Michael and I's savings account, and just like ignored it. But anyway, I sent a thank you letter to him for doing that, because very kind. I'm checking things off as I say them. I also, I made that declutter with me video here, and I ended up sending 2 different decks out to a couple of you guys, and I listed a couple other ones on eBay. I sold my first edition of Desert Illuminations this month, guys, which is something that I never thought I would do, but it is coming out mass market someday. So if I may be interested in getting it back again, depending on if some of the things about it that kind of stuck in my craw, if they are fixed with the mass market edition, but I doubt they will be, so I'm pretty sure I'm saying goodbye to that deck forever. It's bittersweet because I did really enjoy like all the aliens and the bright colors and the cactus, and it was a very unique deck. But guys, I'm at the point where, as you can see, it didn't even occur to me actually. Like everything here, it's like movies I enjoyed this month, books I read this month, and then music. It didn't even occur to me to bring out a deck. I'm just realizing that. And it's just because my tarot practice has become really small. I'm using Mirror Oracle by Amrit Brar a lot, and also Marigold Tarot. Right now, I'm using Crow's Magic a lot. Like I switched to Crow's Magic a couple weeks ago, I think. And I've been getting to know it in a way that I never have, even though I've had it for years. Because at this point, my, card collection is so small that everything is singing more clearly, speaking more clearly to me now. Oh, there's been like kind of a change in my schedule at work. I've been like whining forever about like basically my job is you're either scheduled for the front desk or you're scheduled for like book drop, kind of. You're either scheduled as a page, which is library term for the person that handles the check-in and check-out and shelving of the books. You're either scheduled as a page for the day or you're scheduled on front desk, because we kind of do both in our position. And I've been whining for years that I want more page shifts. I want to be behind the scenes more because it's more satisfying to me. I'm not good at thinking when I'm at work. So like it's easier for me to do things that, yeah, it's easier for me to shelve books than it is for me to be a public servant. And my boss finally like has been giving me pretty much the exact schedule that I want. So most of this month I've been behind the scenes. I've had more time to listen to music while I'm at work. I've been, getting more exercise while I'm at work too, because it's a more physically demanding job than just standing at the front desk. So yeah, just on a personal note, I am enjoying my job more right now at the library. I did a lot of like, not a lot, but more so than usual, just going for drives. I visited several different places in my town that are nostalgic to me this month. And one place in particular, like I'm usually like incredibly nostalgic about everything, but one place in particular, I went to this house that I used to live in back in 2005. And I only lived at that house for like 8 months. It was a terrible time in my life, so it shouldn't surprise me that I don't feel nostalgic about it. But I went there to this house just to like, it's actually within walking distance of where I live now. So I just kind of like wandered around until I found it because I'm directionally challenged, as I call it. So I actually like didn't remember exactly where it was. Like I knew the address, but I decided not to look it up on maps. I just kind of wandered around until I found it and had absolutely zero nostalgia. Like normally I would look at a place that I had spent a lot of time, or especially a place that I've lived, and like good memories would come back to me, but there just weren't any in that house. That's how dark 2005 was for me. So that was just an interesting like moment for somebody like me that tends to romanticize the past, even if it sucked. So I was surprised to walk up to that house and realize that I didn't have any nostalgia for it at all. So anyway, thought I would share that with you guys apparently. I donated a lot of books this month too, particularly spiritual type books or metaphysical type books. I'm finding right now that most of the language in metaphysical books is reflective of someone else's personal gnosis, but it isn't mine, I think is like the kindest way to say it. That shit's just not working for me anymore, and I don't think it ever did. So at this point, let me see, my tarot books are in this room. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. No. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. 7 tarot books. And then a few guidebooks that I have there too. And that's it. And actually 3 of those tarot books are more just like I have the Encyclopedia of Tarot, Volume 1, the Stuart Kaplan. I got lucky Like a former coworker at they're working at a different library now, and they were culling it, so I got it from my friend Leslie. Thank you, Leslie, if you're watching. And I have the Library of Esoterica Tarot, and I have the Sarah Bartlett Iconic Tarot Deck book. Like, all of that is just to say, like, I didn't keep very many tarot books at all. But that's not really what I called this month. I had already culled down my tarot book collection to a really small one. I find that I tried to read 78 Degrees of Wisdom again this month, and I don't think I agree with the way that she assesses most tarot cards. However, I've made so many notes in that book as far as like, yeah, I'll show you because I just have it here and I'm talking about it. You know, just like keywords and associations and stuff next to each card. Because I've like made so many notes in this book, I'm like, I'm not going to donate it. I'll just keep it. So this is one I'm choosing to keep, even though I don't really resonate with it anymore. And I am keeping Holistic Tarot because I think it is just an incredible resource. And then some others that I mean, I guess I'm just talking about tarot books now, so I might as well bring a few of them for you guys to see. Tarot for Yourself. I know everybody fucking loves this book, but I actually came to it completely on my own. This was my best friend's mom died back in, God, I think it was like 2013, 2014. And she had a lot of tarot books and tarot decks. And I ended up with some of them. And this one was actually like, so basically I started getting into tarot at the beginning of 2019. And my mom was like, oh, I have all these books, these tarot books and decks from Becky. Do you want them? And so this was one of the books, and I actually did go through it, and I have filled out all the stuff in here, like the workbook stuff. And I thought this was just a really great way to get to know tarot for me. So this is one that it's kind of sentimental because, you know, it came from my best friend's mom, who was also became my mom's best friend later. She was first my best friend's mom, but then she became also my mom's best friend. So it's kind of poetic, right? So this one's sentimental. I will always keep this one. And then this is one that I just really like. Sasha Graham, Magic of Tarot, because it's just the way that she approaches tarot is very like intuitive, make it up on your own. There's just a lot of like, I don't know, it's just very open the way that she seems to approach tarot, which I really enjoy. I enjoy that whole like figure it out yourself aspect, you know, which is, you know, kind of what this is too, because it's a workbook. I don't know, it just kind of brings your own intuition into tarot while you're learning it, I think. That's how I've interpreted the vibe of both of these books. So these are two that I kept. But anyway, that's kind of an aside because I didn't really cull tarot books this month, but I got rid of several other kind of like new agey spiritual books, just because I think for me, kind of like I am with tarot, like I only want to have like a couple of handfuls maybe of books that I want to go back to over and over again, which brings me to this book that I think came this month, but I had ordered it in January. Look how messed up it is. It was like raining the day it got delivered from Thrift Books, so it was all warped. But I mean, it's a really well-bound book, so it's not really damaged at all. It's just the covers are all warped. So I'm only like less than halfway through it, but Rick Rubin's Creative Act is, I do find it really inspirational and nice and open-ended, you know, kind of like it's about creating your own way of creating, you know, and it's primarily about trusting yourself. And I really appreciate that approach. So I'm enjoying reading this. This is kind of like living on my nightstand right now. So when I'm ready to pick it up for a little while, I will. This is likely going to take me months to finish. I'm finding it a bit repetitive, but I don't think that's a bad thing when it comes to a book like this. And I think there are moments that really stand out, like things that I want to highlight and remember and repeat as mantras in my head and stuff like that. So I'm really liking owning this book. And just side note, like, the production quality is so nice. You know, it's like an actual cloth bound cover, and it's really well made. I mean, the fact that it was damaged in shipping quite badly, actually, and it didn't break the spine or anything. Like, books aren't made this well all the time, but this time I feel like this book was made well. Penguin Press. So yeah, I don't know if they have a good reputation, or maybe Rick Rubin was just like, dude, this is gonna need to be a nice book, okay? But yeah, I think I'm really enjoying it. Really enjoying it so far. So this is like, you know, what I would consider kind of a spiritual book that I didn't get rid of this month. Let's see. Oh, I had a board game night this month, and I played, well, we're not actually playing Dungeons and Dragons yet, but I have a group of coworkers that I'm meeting with. Right now we're in the character creation phase. So yeah, basically just there's lots of things that I did this month that were about being out of the house and being around other people. And let's see what else is on here. Went to see Lisa Frankenstein with friends. I've been like going for drives, strolling through cemeteries more often. It got like really unseasonably warm this month, so I ended up getting to ride bikes this month as well. Yeah, sorry, I'm just going through my list so I can remember to mention everything to you guys. Oh, I had like a brief moment, you know, because our mortgage went up, and I thought there's a situation, like, it's probably too personal to go into, but essentially, like, there was a possible opportunity for Michael and I to get a tiny house. And, you know, we thought about it for a minute, and it would have been financially a great move for us. Literally move, right? It would have been financially really great. But and we've done it before, like essentially when we used to live with my mom for a few years after the tornado, because it was like almost impossible to rent because so many people were displaced, and we were not at a point in our lives where we could buy a house. So my mom was kind enough she was able to buy a house because of the insurance money. She was able to buy a house. So she was kind enough to let us live with her. But in any case, the space that we occupied within her house was really tiny. So we were just on top of each other for 4 years, you know, and we did okay with it. You know, it wasn't like we were fighting all the time or anything, but I really did want more space. So, you know, in the end, like, I love that people can do the whole tiny house thing. I think I could do it if I lived by myself, but not living with another person. You know, it's just too much to, like, for introverts to be on top of each other at all times. Like, so for now, we get to make the decision to continue living in a bigger house. But we had a moment where we thought about it. I did much more like culling. Like, not only did I cull like spiritual books this month, and I let go of some decks as well, but I also did like a big iTunes cull like, while I was waiting for my new iPod to come, I was like, you know what I haven't done? I haven't gone through my music library. So I went from like 130 gigabytes of music to like 105. So I got rid of some shit. Some just like stupid shit that was on there. There was like an era of time when I was into a particular type of music that I was only into for that time and that time only, and I don't actually want to revisit it. So, yeah, a lot of stuff left my library. I also culled my drinkware this last month, like mugs, and like I had like a whole bunch of like different types of like wine glasses that I didn't need. Like I had enough to have like a huge party at my house, but my house is not actually big enough to have a huge party, and I don't ever do that. So there was just no reason for me to have all this fancy drinkware, so I got rid of a bunch of it this month. What else? Oh, I also did, already talked about that. Already talked about that. I spent a day with my jewelry and just kind of consolidating it because I don't know, like, those of y'all that have amassed a jewelry collection in your life, like, you might relate to this. I had two different jewelry boxes, plus I had, all these other, like, little plastic things with drawers that I kept jewelry in, and like just so much shit. And I went through all of it. I Marie Kondoed it. I got it all together and I consolidated it and organized it. I got rid of a few pieces, but not very many. Since I'm really lucky, like most of my jewelry is like either something that was made for me or handed down or gifted to me. Like I have a lot of pieces that, like, a friend was just getting rid of a bunch of shit and offered it to me, that kind of stuff. Like, I'm lucky that most of my jewelry doesn't have the associations. For me, whenever I go into a big consumption binge and I buy a bunch of stuff, like, even if I like it, sometimes I just, every time I look at it, I think about all of that stuff. And luckily with my jewelry, I don't have those associations most of the time, with the exception of this ring right here. I bought from Blood Milk Jewels. They're outrageously expensive and they take for fucking ever to send you your shit. So I do think about that every time I look at it, but I also think it's a really beautiful piece. And so I do wear it almost every day. It is the one piece of jewelry that I spent way too much money on, that I kind of regret the whole situation surrounding it, because it was like I charged it to a credit card and then it took like 2 months before I finally reached out to them like, hey, did you guys forget about me? And they were like, no, here it is. It's like you have to bug them. And I've heard from other people that have ordered from them, you have to fucking bug them in order for them to send you the shit. So it's just like the type of situation that is not for me at all. And I'm reminded of that every time I look at it. But in this case, I've decided to keep it. Anyway, I am lucky that most of the time when I'm looking at my jewelry, I don't have those types of associations. Like, for example, this Ankh ring was given to me by my friend Laura. The Claudia Michael gave me, and it was like $25 on Amazon or something. And then the rose I did buy for myself on Etsy, but it was reasonable. And everything on this hand was either made for me or gifted to me, except the snake. The snake I did buy on Etsy, but it was like $8 or something. It's not a nice ring or anything, but anyway, point is, I consolidated my jewelry collection down to one fancy jewelry box, and it's all organized better now, and I can see it all, and I got rid of some extra pieces that I didn't need, and yeah, it's looking good. That's the point. It's looking good. um, what else? Oh, I got this beautiful compliment. I had given a mix that is actually available here on my YouTube channel in my playlists, and it's also on my Spotify if you're interested. It's called In the Twanging Darkness, and it's like Gothic Americana is the general genre, and I'm really proud of it. It's a mix that I made last year, and I had given it to a friend in person, like on a CD. Burned it onto a CD and gave it to a friend, and he listened to it. I finally gave it to him. Like, I made that mix like several months ago, but I finally remembered to actually hand it to him, and he listened to it, and he said it was, he had a lot of, like, you know, interesting things to say about it, and he also said that it was possibly the best mix that anyone's ever given him. So to me, that is the hugest compliment I could ever get. Like, even just those of y'all that make mixtapes, you know, you're lucky to even get the person that you give, a person that you give the mix to. You're lucky if you get any feedback at all. You're lucky if you get, hey, I listened to it and I really liked it. Like, half the time, you don't even get that much. But when you hear that someone listens to a mix repeatedly and they really like it, you know, you hold on to those memories for life, man. Those compliments for life. I had a friend, it was a different mix that I was really proud of, many years ago, say that every time she went out, she would listen to that mix while she was getting ready. And it was like, oh, that warms my heart. You have no idea. You have no idea. Oh, this month I have been sort of like, what I wrote on my list was discovering makeup and skincare that works for me. I have really like pared that shit down. Like, I'm basically just using whatever is currently in my house because I'm generally doing kind of a no-buy just altogether. I mean, not literally. It's an online no-buy, but like in person, I'm really trying to reduce, you know, reduce, reuse, recycle. I'm really focusing on the reduce and the reuse. But like, you know, one of those things is like, if I run out of my shampoo, I'm going to go to the hall closet and I'm going to find some partially used shampoo that I didn't like that much from years ago that's still in there, and I'm going to finish that up, you know? That kind of thing. And I'm finding that it largely does not matter what I fucking use. It's all the same. It's all the same. And I found out from a podcast this last month. It was the podcast How to Be Fine. They had done an episode on skincare, and they had a lot of research involved. Like, you can check their show notes if you want. I just trust that they know what they're talking about because it sounds like they do. But basically they said, you know, like, there's no reason to have a skincare routine necessarily. Like, if you want to wash your face, wash your face. Use some kind of gentle cleanser because you don't want to strip all the oils and the microbiome of your skin. You don't want to fuck it up. So people that are doing intense skincare routines are likely fucking up their skin's microbiome, and it can cause a lot of problems. But all you really need is a gentle cleanser, sunscreen, and some kind of moisturizer if you want, you know? So I have found that for me right now, I mean, like, right now I'm using like shit that I just have in my house that I've gotten before. But when I'm ready to buy stuff again, like, I kind of am starting to know what I like. And I'm also just, I mean, it's not really new to me, but I'm realizing that like the cheap shit is the good shit. Like, for example, I bought, you know, one of those like little blue little blue pots of Blistex, like Lip Medics or whatever. I mean, it's essentially just Vaseline with some menthol in it or something, right? Incredibly nostalgic, costs like $2 and it's gonna take you a year to get through that little pot, right? I've been using that at night to kind of like recover from, because I've been wearing a lot more lipstick. I've been wearing a lot more makeup lately in general, which is interesting. And it's all drugstore shit. It's all cheap shit. And for me, as far as like any product like that, any hygiene product or makeup product or whatever, like not only because of my budget, it's sort of a necessity for me to get cheap shit, but it also 9 times out of 10, it's better than the expensive shit. Because I spent some time, I never really got into like expensive skincare, thankfully, but I spent some time buying expensive makeup and it was not worth it. In fact, the quality of the drugstore shit is usually better. Like the packaging might not be as fancy and cute, but that's it, right? Like when it comes to that kind of stuff, you're paying for the packaging 9 times out of 10. Like our world has just become so advertisement focused that we literally care more about the packaging than anything else, which is ridiculous. So at this point, I've spent a lot of time with my little Revlon lipsticks, or my mom just recently gave me like a L'Oreal lipstick that is actually like my favorite shade of chocolate brown, which I tend to buy a lot of chocolate brown lipsticks. It's like my favorite shade of chocolate brown, and it is a beautiful formula. And it stays on most of the day, and it fits in like I have like a little leather like lipstick holder thing with a little snap, and it has a mirror on the inside and it fits in there perfectly, and I just have it with me all the time. You know, it's just I'm realizing that I'm a person that like, and my perfumes, like I only use like fucking 3 or 5 perfumes now instead of, 40. It's just, I mean, I know I say this a lot, but simplicity is just, it's so much better, guys, I'm telling you. Okay, so I haven't even got to like all the things that are in this pile. One of the things I did this month, after buying the iPod, I also decided I want to have CDs again. I haven't really replaced my CDs. I lost most of them in the tornado, and I haven't really replaced them. So there was a sale at my local like record store chain. We have 2 in town from the same chain, and there was a sale over like President's Day weekend that was buy 2 get 1 free of all their used stuff, which is most of what they have anyway. So I got all my CDs together, put them on a shelf, alphabetized them, and then made a list of like what are like important albums to me that I would really like to have a physical copy of again. And I got some CDs these aren't all the ones that I got this month, but I did get, I think maybe 8 total. But this is one, Ani DeFranco's Dilate. This is my favorite Ani DeFranco CD. And like looking at this cover is so nostalgic to me. Like I can't even tell you. Because this is how I discovered Ani DeFranco. I picked this CD up in a store, and I was just so into this artwork, and I still am, that I bought it on the spot, and that's how I discovered Ani DeFranco. So this was an important one for me to get again, and I'm glad to have it. This is one that I didn't have before, Erasure, The Innocents, and it's got all the good Erasure songs that I know on it. I already knew A Little Respect, Chains of Love, and Hallowed Ground, but I'm really falling in love with Ship of Fools and some others on here. I'm actually really enjoying this whole album. I've been listening to it in the car. I got Poe's Hello, and I love this album, but I also love her second album, Haunted. I listened to that a couple times this month too. I don't have that one on CD, but this is just one of the CDs I bought this month. And then this is another one that I never had before. Yaz's Upstairs at Eric's. But it's another one that just like all the good Yaz songs are on this album. There's Don't Go, Situation, Only You. Yeah, and like I haven't really listened to this one a whole lot yet, but yeah, it's good. So I started kind of collecting CDs again. Like I'm not going to go crazy with it. It's just like stuff that's really important to me. I'll be collecting again. Just kind of as it goes. I also, as you can see down here, this is the new Chelsea Wolfe album. I bought it on LP. Actually, like, this was a fun experience. I went to my local record store because I decided it came out this month. And I decided I did want a physical copy of it. Like, I bought it digitally, but I decided, yeah, I want a physical copy. But the only way you can get a physical copy, if you live in my small town, is to order it online. But I realized, and you know, of course, that's against my rules for my online no buy. Like, I can't justify that. So I went to my record store and I asked them if they could special order it for me. And they did. So I was able to get the new Chelsea Wolfe album, and I love it. I really, really love it. It's good shit. It's good shit. And it turns out that like the copy that I could get is like an exclusive, like it's only like it's a blue vinyl, whatever. It's not actually in there right now because it's on my turntable, but it's which I don't really care about that shit, but it's just kind of fun because like the blue vinyl that is the copy that I have, you can only get in person at record stores. So it's like it's almost like it's a little personal validation to me for this thing that I'm doing. You know, I was able to support a local record store, not break my online no buy rules, and still get this new Chelsea Wolfe album, which is nice. And I love it. I read 5 books this month. So these are 2 that I can give you the visual from. I read How to Be Fine, Heavier Than Heaven, Do Not Sell at Any Price, which is a book about like the culture of like mostly old white guy hobbyists that collect 78s. Like if you've ever seen the movie Ghost World, it's like reading about Steve Buscemi's character in depth. It was an interesting book. I actually really liked it. I checked that off from the library and returned it already. Something called So Sorry for Your Loss, which is a book about grief. And then Elvis and Me. So I finally watched the Priscilla movie, the Sofia Coppola movie that is based on this book. I don't care about Elvis. Like, I don't really know anything about Elvis. I mean, I do now. But I didn't really like the Priscilla movie, which I'm not going to get into my critique of that because this video is already so long. But it left me with a lot of questions. And since I knew that the movie was based on Priscilla's memoir, this book right here, I decided to check it out from my library and read it. And I read it in like 3 days. And I really enjoyed it. I'm kind of in this vibe right now. As you can see with Heavier Than Heaven, this is a Kurt Cobain biography that I own it. I've read it like at least 3 times. This was at least my 3rd time reading it. Oh, man, I have a lot to say about this particular biography. The vibe, okay, so the writing is really good. But this guy takes a lot of fucking liberties. Like the way that he writes, it's as if he was there in a lot of moments that he was not there. The level of detail that he writes about Kurt Cobain's life, like you got to take this shit with a huge grain of salt. There was actually a moment when I was reading this book that I was so angry at the way that it was written because it's so beautiful. It's very lyrical. Like it is an enjoyable book to read. But you have to remember that it's a very fictionalized account of Kurt Cobain's life. Like, it, by nature, it has to be, because of the amount of detail that he puts into situations that he was not present for, you know? So there was actually a moment where I was so angry that I threw the book across the room. I told you guys I've been having problems with emotional regulation lately. I threw it. It survived, and I actually ended up picking it back up and finishing reading it. But in that moment, I was ready to throw this book in the trash. But it is... This is just like a very self-indulgent habit of mine, reading about celebrities that, you know, that are very troubled. So, I mean, like, Elvis and Me is a similar vibe to, you know, any books about Kurt Cobain. Plus, I just watched this documentary on Amy Winehouse yesterday. Oh God, it gutted me, guys. It gutted me. Oh my God. This is a documentary. This is not that like, you know, whatever fiction movie. This is a documentary. So it's all footage of actually her. And I didn't know a lot about her beforehand. Like, you know, I enjoy her voice, and I think she had so much potential. Oh my God, the jazz albums we would have gotten from her. Just like with Kurt Cobain, like, he was going down a trajectory of, like, he was going to have some more... He was really inspired by Unplugged. He was going to be working with people. I mean, maybe some of this is just my own assumptions based on the trajectory I think he was going in, but I think his best music was yet to come. You know, I think he was going to get more soulful, more acoustic, and for me that would have been more interesting. And I think Amy Winehouse too, just like, her love of jazz was so pure and her voice was so unique. I think her best work was yet to come, and she was just fucking destroyed by the fame, by the paparazzi, and I mean, basically, we completely destroyed her, just like we completely destroyed Britney Spears. And just because Britney Spears is still alive doesn't mean she's not fucking destroyed. Anyway, I have a lot of opinions about that stuff. But I also rewatched, this is from my own collection, SLC Punk. This is a favorite of mine that I've seen many, many times since it came out. When did it come out? 1999? Wow, I'm actually surprised that it's that old. I thought it was more like 2002, 2003. But anyway, this is a really good movie. I have a very different perspective on it now than I did when I was, oh yeah, it says that right there, 1999, than I did when I first saw it. It's interesting to see it from a more grown-up perspective, I guess. I mean, not that I'm really grown up, but you know what I mean. This is also like, I need to watch Ghost World again, because it's another one in a similar category for me. It's like very much a coming of age, growing up, being reluctant to grow up kind of storyline that I really identified with at the time that these movies came out. So yeah, Ghost World I need to watch again as well. But this one, it does hold up for me. I don't like the ending. It was very rushed, and it was like they didn't really know how to handle that ending, and they didn't give it the time that it deserved. But it holds up overall. I think Matthew Lillard is just so charismatic. Like, his smile is just, I don't know. I like him a lot, and this movie does hold up. It is good. And I also rewatched Constantine the other day. I was just like looking around on HBO Max, which is one of the only streaming services we still have. Because I think we paid for a year, so we still have it for several months. But anyway, I was scrolling around and saw it on there, and stupid me, I watched it on fucking streaming, even though I have the DVD, but I was too lazy to go downstairs and get it. But anyway, this is one that I've seen many, many times, but you know, it fucking holds up. This is a good movie from beginning to end. It is like well constructed, beautiful movie. So if you haven't rewatched Constantine in a while, do yourself a favor. So yeah, I've been watching a lot of movies, reading a lot of books. I mean, I've read like 10 books so far this year, which is more than I read by like August of last year, most likely. Like I'm doing good with reading. Ugh. Sorry, I think I've bumped that tripod several times because I keep like looking at my stupid notes. Oh, also, like, I'll just end this by saying I've listened to a lot of Stevie Nicks this month. I just, like, finally completely succumbed to listening to The Chain on repeat for 2 days straight and other songs as well. And I made myself a little Stevie Nicks playlist that it's just all my favorite Fleetwood Mac and Stevie Nicks solo. And just listen to it on repeat. Michael was like, you're like a teenager. You get on something and it's all you do. And yeah, that's what but largely, as you can see, the theme is music. I'm back into music full time again as far as my obsession. And it is a much better place for me to be, I guess. Okay, I will stop there because I don't know. I've been talking for an hour and it's ridiculous. So I'll stop. Bye.